Story time! Okay, so I play band and there's this girl that sits next to me and she's always seemed kind of weird, but I've never wanted to just assume, you know? So about 2 weeks into our band camp, I noticed that she was always talking to this one guy in the front. Mind you, this guy already goes to high school and he's about to be a junior, and this girl is barely in 8th grade. So anyways, I would always see them talking and laughing until this one day she wasn't there. And she's one of those pick-me girls, like if she notices the guy talking to someone she doesn't like, she will make herself known, just so he'll notice her instead of the other girl. So because I didn't see her, I thought that she wasn't in school today. So I was going to the band room and then I see the guy that she's always talking to waiting outside the room for her. So I told him, "Hi, I don't think she's coming here today. I don't think she's here." And he was just like, "That's fine. I actually wanted to talk to you." And I was like, "Me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I want to talk to you." And I just told him, "Well, I can't. I have practice, maybe afterwards." And all he said was okay, so I ended up walking into the band room. When I walked into the band room, I saw the pick-me girl sitting in my spot. So obviously I told her to move. She then responded with, "No, it's mine now since you want to talk to my man." And I was like, "I'm not even talking to him. I don't even know him." And she just responded with, "Yeah, right, because he was asking for you yesterday." And obviously I was really confused because I don't know him like that. I know of him, but I'm not his friend and he isn't any of my friends' friends. So after I told her that I didn't even know him, she was like, "Yeah, right, because I saw you guys talking outside of the band room." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I was talking to him because I thought that you weren't here today and I saw him waiting for you, so I just wanted to let him know that you weren't here." And she just responded with a, "Yeah, whatever." So we get on with practice and it's finally over and everything, and I'm walking out and he's still there. He pulls me aside and he was like, "Okay, I can talk to you right now." And I said, "Yeah, I guess." He then says, "So you know that girl that sits right next to you?" And obviously I said, "Yeah." He then was like, "Well, she wants me to let you know to stop fucking with me." And I was like, "But I don't even know you. You're the one that's talking to me." And he was like, "Yeah, I know that." So then I said, "Okay, well, why don't you just tell her that then?" He then proceeds to tell me, "Well, it's really complicated." And then I just ended up walking away after that. As I'm walking out of the school, I see the pick-me girl waiting in the same spot that she does every single day in the front waiting for him. I ended up waving at her because I was trying to be nice, and then she was just like, "Come here now," trying to boss me around, and mind you, I'm a freshman. I walk over to her and she pulls out her phone, and on the screen is a picture of me and the guy having a conversation. So at this point I'm thinking, well, okay, someone obviously planned that. I look at her and I'm like, "Okay, we were having a conversation, so what?" She then tells me, "Okay, well, that's not what he said. He said that you came on to him." I was already fed up at this point and I was like, "I did not come on to him." So after I told her that I wasn't coming on to him, she was like, "Yeah, well, I believe him and not you." And at this point, I was already over the situation, so I was like, "You know what? Okay, whatever. I don't care." I began to walk away, but then she goes, "You know what? I'm gonna go tell the principal that you're talking to a junior and you're a freshman." And one thing to note is that at my school, if you're dating a person that's 4 years older than you, not only will you get into trouble, but so will the other person, because it's obviously against the law. And from what I heard, this guy wasn't 16, he was actually 17 turning 18, and it was because he got held back a year. So that's a 4-year difference between me and him, so we would get into trouble. I told her not to because that's not what was going on, but she ended up telling the principal anyways. So now he's switching to another school and I'm in ISS for 2 weeks, all because the pick-me girl thought there was something going on between us when there wasn't. Story time! So this one day I was with my boyfriend and we were chilling at my house. My parents were out of town this day, so me and him had the entire house to ourselves. While we were hanging out, we all of a sudden heard a really loud bang on the front door. And just so you guys know, he had this really crazy ex-girlfriend who he had just broke up with, and his ex was obviously still in love with him. We ignored it, and fast forward a bit, we heard the loud bang again. And this time my boyfriend went to go check the door to see if there was something or someone standing there, but there was no one. Fast forward a while later, and it's already past 1 a.m, so my boyfriend ended up going back to his house. So now I was home alone. I was getting ready to go to bed when I heard the glass breaking downstairs. So I ran downstairs only to see his crazy ex-girlfriend who had just broken my window with a brick. She had a knife in her hand and she said, "If you don't break up with him within an hour, I will kill you." After that, I ended up running upstairs to my room and I locked the door and I called the police. When she heard me on the phone with the police, she ended up running out of my house, and 5 days later, she was found in the woods in a cabin. Till this day, she is still in prison and she will stay there for 7 years for stalking, threats, and attempted murder. And just so you guys know, I never broke up with my boyfriend and we are still together, and today is our 6-year anniversary. Story time! Okay, so I'm a 7th grader now, but this happened when I was only in 5th grade. So when I was in 5th grade, I remember having this one substitute teacher. We'll call him Mr. Gideon. He was a male and he was in his 60s or 70s. And it seemed like everything we did in the class was wrong. Every time someone needed help on an assignment, he would just start screaming at us and he would tell us that we wouldn't need help if we had just paid attention. So fast forward later on that day, and it was almost time for us to leave, so people started lining up at the door like we always did at a certain time every day. We all thought that our teacher put a little note that tells the substitute what to do or what we do, but she didn't do that. So as we were lining up to leave, Mr. Gideon was livid. He began to scream at us so loud, and then he told us that he was going to kill us. It was chaos. People were crying and panicking, and as soon as he said that he was going to kill us 10-year-olds, we all panicked, so we pushed the door and we all ran out of the classroom. Half of us, including me, ran to the principal's office and explained what happened, and she was really mad and told us not to worry and to just go home. I had to stay behind for a school program, and I was so scared that I would see him there. But after that situation, he is no longer allowed to work at that elementary school.
When I was a kid, my parents worked pretty much all the time, so they required me to have a babysitter. And my babysitter was always the same girl. She was 16 or 17 at the time, and she was absolutely stunning. Keep in mind, I was around 8 or 9 at the time. But there's one weekend that she came over that I'll never forget. So the night started off like usual. When she got there, she cooked me some dinner. Actually, it was grilled salmon. This girl could cook. And she was super lenient and cool, so after we got done eating, she let me watch an R-rated movie with her. But once it was time to put me to bed is where things got insane. She walked me up to my room and told me goodnight and that she loved me because we were pretty close at the time. Well, I tried going to sleep, but it wasn't working, so I started playing some video games. And after a while, I got bored and still wasn't tired, so I decided to go back downstairs to talk to the babysitter. But when I got downstairs, she was laying completely unclothed on my couch. My babysitter walked me upstairs, told me goodnight, and she loved me. And after a while of laying in bed, I could not fall asleep, so I decided to play some video games. But of course, eventually I got bored, so I walked downstairs to talk to my babysitter. But when I got to the bottom of the stairs, I noticed that she was laying on the couch completely unclothed, doing, this. And she was so bad that I could not help but sit and watch. That was until she noticed me looking at her. She immediately jumped up and screamed and put her clothes on. And I ran back to my room because I knew I was in trouble. And a few moments later, my bedroom door burst open and she started screaming at me. And then she literally bent me over and spanked me. But after she calmed down, she told me that I could not tell my parents about this because she really didn't want to lose her job. If I didn't tell them and forgot about it, then me and her would be cool. And I really liked her, so I didn't end up telling my parents. And I'm still in contact with her today. I just, haven't cracked yet. But we'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed that fan-submitted story. Like and follow for more.
Okay, so on my FYP lately, I've been seeing so many videos of watch my husband fall out of love with me, which is exactly what I watched happen whenever I went through my pregnancy with my boyfriend's child. So in December of 2019, I found out that I was pregnant and I was so excited. And my boyfriend was overjoyed. We literally had one of the best relationships during this time. But once COVID hit in 2020, I ended up getting laid off of work. He continued to work, but I felt like it was pointless for me to find another job just because I was about to have a baby and raise a kid. And in April, we get to find out the gender, and guess what? It was a boy. I was extremely happy, but then I just started to notice that he stopped caring. I would be like, hey, the baby is kicking, and he would just be like, okay. Completely monotone, completely blank face. Then June comes around and I ended up gifting him an iPhone 11 Pro Max. Since it was under my name, I had access to see who could text and call him. And I know a lot of his family's numbers, including cousins and aunts, but there was one number that I didn't recognize that stood out the most. And the messages between him and this number would not stop until 3 a.m., which is when he would go to sleep. So I decided to go up and ask him Storytime part 3 to my boyfriend cheating on me with his ex and coworker. Now that I officially have this man's phone, I can see everything. When I asked him who the first girl was, he was like, no one. And I was like, no, straight up, who is she? And he finally admitted that she was a coworker. So I go through his pictures and I see that they took selfies together, really close selfies, and he also took a pic of her butt. There's literally a whole video where she's shaking it for him. I started bawling and I threw everything at him. I left the house for several days. We agreed to try to fix things again, but I'm taking his paychecks and messing around with his cousin now to get revenge on him. And honestly, him and his cousin look a lot alike, so if I ever were to get pregnant again, he wouldn't even question it. Also, if you didn't catch on, the other girl was his ex-girlfriend, and she still reaches out asking him for money and asking him to move in with her. And even when we were trying to work things out, he would constantly think about leaving our family for her. If you guys have a story that you would like me to share on my TikTok, follow my Instagram and I'll show you how.
My girlfriend is so embarrassing, it's not even funny. So last week we were grocery shopping and my girlfriend got caught stealing a can of plum tomatoes. Plum fucking tomatoes. So anyway, she got caught and now she had to go to court today, so I came with her. On the way to court, she's crying at me, this and that, and I feel for her, but she's really scared. So in the courtroom, the judge asked my girlfriend, he goes, excuse me, ma'am, I understand that you stole a can of plum tomatoes. Now, how many plum tomatoes were in that can? So my girlfriend answers the judge. She says, 6, Your Honor. So the judge looks at her and goes, I'm going to sentence you to 1 night in jail for every plum tomato that you stole. My girlfriend turns to me and starts bawling her eyes out. And she's like, do something, please help me. So I look at the judge and say, Your Honor, she also stole a can of peas last week, too.